It's the same story all over the United States. Failing schools are abandoning too many children to a life of poverty.
In urban school districts across America, fewer than 50% of the 14-year-olds who enter high school graduate. That's a recipe for a permanent underclass.
1.2 million students drop out of high school each year, and it's not just their loss. These dropouts cost the long-term economy in lost wages, taxes and productivity. Dropouts from the class of 2007 are predicted to total losses of more than $300 billion over the course of their working lives.
We're not prioritizing education the way we need to, and particularly for poor people in this country. I was down in Watts yesterday, it's a part of Los Angeles, walked into a classroom where we're telling these young people that education is their future, and they had no computers in the classroom. And this is supposed to be our future, this is the hope.
But in the past decade, a new breed of innovators has emerged in the fight against declining standards, so-called education entrepreneurs.
The new educational entrepreneurs offer an opportunity to really revitalize the system and bring in different kinds of ideas. Things that the old system perhaps took for granted and didn't challenge. The new entrepreneurs are starting to challenge.
Alamo Venice High School in Los Angeles is an example of these new ideas. Located in a poor area where dismal academic results are the norm, it's run not by the LA School District, but by non-profit firm Green Dot Public Schools. Its students have just moved into a brand new building paid for by private funding. Almost all the students here come from a low-income background. About 3/4 of them get free or reduced meals, and they arrive here seriously behind in their subjects. But last year, the first graduating class of 2008, 80% of them went on to do a 4-year university degree.
So we try to create a different culture from year one, a culture that is a college-going culture, a culture of high expectations for everyone, but also a safer culture where the students have connections with adults and they are in a smaller environment and they have adults that believe in them and that support them.
Green Dot is in charge of 8,000 students in 20 schools around LA. The schools are publicly funded, but they receive less money than traditional schools. In exchange, the school district gives them more flexibility in how they operate. The organisation normally seeks private money to build new schools and recently received funding for teacher effectiveness programmes from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Along with teacher training, Green Dot uses Read 180, a technology-driven intervention programme designed for struggling readers as they enter high school. As for numbers, following a suggestion from its teachers, Green Dot integrated maths into every subject taught at its schools. One of Green Dot's funding sources is New Schools Venture Fund. Created in part by Silicon Valley venture capitalists, this non-profit fund has invested $150 million in 30 organizations over the past 10 years.
We look at a lot of business plans, and many of them are elegant structural plans for how to do this differently and how to do that differently, and some of those are good ideas, but none of them will work unless the team at the top has a complete commitment to the lives of individual kids and their families. That becomes a big screen for us.
And not all education entrepreneurs are working outside the bureaucracy of the urban school districts.
You know, working within the school district can be really hard, and frankly, that's why most people don't do it. But guess what? 90% of the kids in this country work in the school system, so we have to find a way to do it.
Marshall Tuck has a Harvard MBA, but rather than take a high-paying job, he's chosen to lead a non-profit organisation that takes the lowest performing schools in the LA school district and tries to turn them around.
Throw that in, or some bus passes.
Best experience for me coming into this job, my MBA was great, but frankly I worked at an entrepreneurial startup before going into education, which was great because learning the skills of how to go after big monopolies or big competitors, how to build a new organization in a sector that you're trying to change.
Marshall Tuck's transition from the private to the public sector was assisted by billionaire Eli Broad, or more accurately by the Broad Residency in Urban Education, a management development program for talented early career executives. The Broad Foundation also trains experienced business leaders to become school district superintendents, a job which in urban areas has been compared to running a Fortune 500 company.
We found people running school districts that really didn't have any training whatsoever in managing anything, but they started as a coach or a teacher, and 30 years later, because they had a great personality and political skills, they were in effect the chief executive officer of a large organization. So we said, let's see if we could start training people that could do better than those that are currently in jobs like that.
So far, the foundation has filled over 60 superintendent positions. But despite their progress, education entrepreneurs have their work cut out for them.
If you took IBM 40 years ago and tried to make it competitive today, right, like that company has completely transferred and turned over 2-3 times since then. And that's essentially what you're trying to do in education. The sector has not changed dramatically over the last 40 years, and yet the challenges of educating our young people have intensified greatly.
Many education entrepreneurs hope that increased funding, plus a supportive Obama administration, will add up to a brighter future for underprivileged children across America.